Okay, I just finished up about a 33-minute explanation about the Schumann resonance and real basics. So check that out. At the end, I go into a little bit about twin flames, but it's right at the end. So you may not or likely do not necessarily have time for the whole video right now. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an explanation about twin flames, because I know this is a very popular topic, and it really relates to what is happening with the Schumann resonance. So I'm going to keep trying to back up and retread our steps about what the Schumann resonance really is. And just a little bit, I'm not going to go into it for 30 minutes, just a couple minutes, but it is directly tied to the twin flame awakening. Okay, so the Schumann resonance is actually the heartbeat of the earth. You have a heartbeat, the earth has a heartbeat. We're all organisms, and all of our individual cells have a heartbeat. So what is a heartbeat? It's just a little electrical pulse. So you might have heard from some people who I really don't like and I don't agree with about some other stuff, so I'm not going to talk about them because it's controversial, that human life starts with an electrical pulse. When the two cells come together and make a zygote, you see a heartbeat start, and it's in the form of a little electrical pulse we can perceive. So those two little cells have an electrical pulse, and everything else in your body has an electrical pulse, and they vibrate at different frequencies according to their density and according to the consciousness of your body. FYI, one of the highest consciousness parts of your body, if not the highest, is your tongue. So that's very interesting. So everything is layers of all these different frequencies in the 3D. There's something that makes, a plant a plant. There's something that makes a heartbeat one frequency, that makes metal one frequency. If you look at the periodic table of the elements, you can discern these same vibrational frequencies. So for every charge, every one of these electrical pulses, which is a charge, it's a charge of electricity, which means that it can interact. It has potential to energy to be able to interact with other energy and cause change. That's what energy is. For every single charge created, there is an equal and opposite charge that is also created. And this is when we get into the poles. So the earth has a pulse, has a heartbeat, and it also has two poles, the north and south pole. And this is just like in a magnet, your bar magnet or whatever. There's a central point of electricity that circulates a stream of charged energy between those two poles, and that's what creates an electromagnetic field. And the earth has an electromagnetic field, and we do too, and we are completely entrained with that electromagnetic field, and we are affected when these energies come in off the sun. It expands our electromagnetic field, and if you are not vibrating at a high level, this feels like crap when it comes in. If you're vibrating above a certain threshold, this can feel really good. Either way, you might be feeling ascension symptoms, what are called ascension symptoms, where this energy, because all energy is within a certain vibration, our bodies can feel. Everything that's in the 3D realm, our bodies can feel and affect us. So you might be feeling joint pain, you might be super tired, you might not be able to sleep, kind of stuff like that feels a little general, but like night sweats, things that just like, I don't know, I feel off, this is weird. And there isn't another real explanation, and this can go on for a while, and this means that your body is trying to integrate these higher frequencies, which we call light codes, because all energy is within our 3D realm, all energy is light. So once you get above a certain vibration once you get above a certain frequency, a certain vibration of energy, you actually have the energy change into something which we cannot perceive with our regular senses. You have to use your sixth sense, your third eye, to be able to experience and understand and discern what is coming off of the quantum, what energies are coming in that are some new consciousness to your energetic field. This, if you're at a more high vibrational state, this can pull you out of feeling down. This can give you revelations and prophecies, and you will come to spontaneous understanding of these big concepts that you never even knew about, such as the Schumann resonance. Or you might get in touch with your clairvoyance, where you can see things that aren't visible in our 3D realm, or you can hear things like clairaudience. You might be able to hear things. Clairsentience, you feel things that aren't there, like emotions, kind of free-floating emotions that you probably don't realize are just frequencies floating around that you are feeling, and you're feeling the electromagnetic fields of all this stuff and the electromagnetic field of the earth. So the electromagnetic field of the earth at its iteration now, before we blast up and ascend, there is a double pull that keeps us in place, keeps those two poles in this circuit. And what happens as a circuit runs, an electric circuit goes round and round between those two poles, those two aspects of polarity, which by the way are the masculine and the feminine. That's what we're calling the masculine and the feminine. All of us have these polarities within us, and they each behave differently. But that circuit between them of charged electrons, charged energy, which charge just mean that it can help. Charged means that it can integrate with your field. That means, okay, it's like open for business, like it's going to come in and integrate. When these energies are coming in off the sun, we are actually incorporating them in our electromagnetic field. As it raises in its vibration, it actually expands. Just like any electric circuit creates a bigger and bigger electromagnetic field, and if the circuit has a limiting 3D factor, the circuit will either cut off, it'll stop, and so your light bulb will bust or your battery stops working. But if you are a human, there is not anything that can break apart this connection besides 3D death, which by the way is now. So this means if you get high vibrational enough, you are no longer susceptible to decay. And this takes a long time to get up to there, and it takes a lot of work. You have to bust through all this karma, which is all the malfunctioning little vibrations within your system that are due to trauma. Trauma gives you low vibration, or it draws down your vibration and draws down your state of consciousness. So what happens when there is a twin flame awakening is that you've either spontaneously jumped up in consciousness because of a major trauma or something like that. You've awakened from meditating diligently, things like that, being in flow all the time, playing instead of working. And this doesn't mean you're not quote unquote productive, but do things. Even for work, do things that feel like play, and you will be getting yourself into higher vibrations. So when a charge is created, so every time there is a brand new charge, like when those two cells come together and make a new brand new charge that ends up turning into a human, because the soul doesn't immediately incarnate until it's recognized by the mother. So that's why I am quote unquote pro-choice, is because you can actually see how that little pulse and that little being is not going to host a soul until it actually is recognized. So whether this means you recognize it at 3 weeks along and you're going for it, or you recognize it right when the baby comes out. Some people are not connected with their pregnancies, and you consciously observe this other being, and your observation of this other soul, of this other being, brings the soul down into it. And some of those souls can reincarnate over and over within your life. So that's how some people who might have a child pass away, if you have another child who comes along and feels like a lot like that child that you lost, that you're not imagining it. It's because you're feeling the vibration of that soul, and that soul is really magnetized to you and wants you specifically to take care of them. So the other person who is really magnetized to you and who shares your, it's like a bug, shares your vibration, is your twin flame. So every single charge that is created in the universe, everything that is created in the 3D, in the quantum, in the quantum, I should say, the quantum field, which is that electromagnetic field, that's where these sparks come together and just seemingly magically appear. It's because it's in the quantum field, and it moves down according to the consciousness that pulls it in, of the earth, pulls in that pulse, pulls in that field, and creates a being in using that potential energy to create a little spark, a little pulse, electric pulse. Your twin flame, so for every single person, every single charge that is created, there is an equal and opposite charge. And so for the charge that is created for you, if you are at a certain level of vibration, or once you hit a certain level of vibration, you are going to be magnetized. Your field is going to be strong enough that it naturally pulls in your twin flame. And this, I know it sounds crazy that this would mean that like you would feel compelled to like move across the country, or you'd feel compelled to go like visit a certain place that you've never been, and that might be where you run into a twin. Or you might be have a major trauma like I did, and you bounce each other up. Basically, you bounce up in vibration, and then along that path, once you raise really high, that's when you're going to meet your twin, who is being pulled up by you because you mirror each other's energy. Remember, your vibration is exactly the same, equal and opposite. One of you is polarized in the feminine, one of you is polarized in the masculine. It doesn't matter what your gender or sex identification is. And because gender is on a spectrum, and so is sex, so are your sexual organs, and I won't get too far into that right now. So your twin is actually the exact equal and opposite frequency. So where you're going up like this wave, your twin is going to go the opposite, but it's the exact same frequency. And that's why when you come together, it's like this automatic harmony. And through those frequencies sharing, you can share thoughts. And you have this, what's called twin flame telepathy. It is undeniable when you meet your twin. And you hear people say, when you know, you know. And I've heard people say all my life, like, when you know about somebody that you fall in love with. This is a different feeling than you have ever felt if you have come across your twin. It is absolutely undeniably remarkable, and it feels supernatural. You're not having to grasp at straws to put together pieces of how you feel similar. And there aren't other signs, like you don't have the same birthday necessarily. You don't have the same sign necessarily. The twins don't all come in on Pisces. Pisces, the energy that they use, actually, that's the wave that we follow, is these Pisces waves of energy. And that's to do with Christ consciousness, and the fish represents Christ consciousness. And it's this really high vibrational energy that, oh shoot. It was not a mosquito. I hate killing bugs. I think it's okay. Like a tiny gnat. So when you come in, when you encounter your twin flame, one of you is going to be the higher vibrational twin, and usually this is the person who also is going to polarize eventually into the feminine. This is the divine feminine versus the divine masculine, and this does not mean that you can't be a dude and be harnessing the energy of your divine feminine to bounce up. But when you have a trauma, when something happens and you bounce way up in your state of consciousness, there is a middle. This is a spectrum that goes up and down, and there's a middle point where, if you picture like a line, it's sort of like a rubber band. If you pull it out really fast, it both flicks up and down. You know, if there's something resting on that line, it would either push it down, bounce it down, or bounce it back up. And when you impact that threshold with your consciousness, that is it. you go up, you pull your twin flame up with you, pull your twin flame past that threshold, and then when you inevitably drop down, because you can't initially maintain that really high vibration, so initially you're going to drop down a little bit. You won't ever go past that threshold again in your state of consciousness, but you are actually pulling up the polarity, pulling up the vibration of your twin in the 3D, so that you can eventually come together. So when this happens, when you first meet each other, when you first have that's where the spark between you becomes really strong, and that's when you feel this awakening, this twin flame awakening of like, oh my God, is this person also me? How are we sharing the same thoughts? Like, this is so random. I'm not looking for anything, you might be thinking, especially if you've been through trauma. It's like, I don't know, if you've been abused or things like that, like you're definitely not, if you're doing your healing and shadow work, you're not looking for something, it can feel icky, but even then this can happen. And then it's like this magical, unbelievable feeling. And so what happens is that you have created what is called a light body of the combination of your two light bodies. So you have a light body that's your electromagnetic field, which expands and expands as you raise your vibration. And you and your twin have a light body that is mutual. That's what makes you a twin. You share equal and opposite complementary charges, such that those charges come together and make their own charge, which is your mutual light body. They've always been interacting with each other. This is called spooky action from a distance, where you can see one electron a charge, a piece of charged energy, basically, which is a wave. It's not like a particle until it's observed, but observed in the 3D. But you, you come together. And when you come together, when you have that awakening, when it snaps, that is when your light body suddenly is there. This is called the Hieros Gamos. In some traditions, this is seen in all across traditions. It's not, this is when you hit Christ, what's called Christ consciousness. This is Jesus and Mary Magdalene were actually twin flames, and all of that is eliminated from the Bible. She has a book herself, and Jesus said that she was his greatest teacher. She was his wife, and they actually had a baby. And then Jesus did a really ill-advised thing and basically manifested his own death by predicting it. And when you predict something, the law of attraction means that it happens. So he had been manifesting this for a long time. And when you manifest from a very high vibrational state, you manifest basically whatever you want or whatever you're thinking about. And since because your manifestations come in instantaneously. This also happens with people with really, really low vibration, which is how you keep magnetizing all this crappy stuff that happens. It's because of this. So, so when they meet, you have this natural bounce back up and down as the frequencies even out, and as they entrain with each other, and as the two of you become one, as you come into union. So this can take a long time. This can take years and years, and people say that you can totally choose not to be in a twin flame union. You can go ahead and be with a soulmate if you want to, if that feels aligned for you. If that feels good after your awakening, to be with somebody who just makes your heart pitter patter and gives you butterflies, and you don't want to wait for this torturous twin flame union to come in, you can do that. But let's be advised that even if you do that, the twin flame connection is going to come back around if you as long as you are alive in the 3D. And nothing ever dies. Your soul just slips out of your body when it starts feeling suffering or gets scared, which is how consciousness is actually boosted. It's when your soul kind of slips in and out of your body, and it does like a like a hard reset of your phone or your computer. So this is, you have to be patient with your twin. You have to be patient with yourself, because you cannot go into a low vibrational codependence. You have to really, like, I didn't know anything about twin flames. I didn't know anything about all this stuff, and all this knowledge that I have is part of my own twin flame awakening, part of the spiritual awakening that I had like a year before that. And then there were a couple before that that were these high vibrational times where I was, like in 2016, I had a really rough year as other people did. And there was a particular date in 2016 where I just, what felt like I caved in around November of 2016. So, and I'm not going to talk anymore. And then I had to stop completely watching any news, which is a great way to raise your vibration. And it sounds so silly, or I mean, it sounds like, okay, but literally if you disconnect from the news, you are disconnecting yourself from the most low vibrational coverage of everything. And the more you tune into that, the more you're entraining yourself with low vibrational stuff. This is also true if you are having sex, or with having sexual relations with intimacy with somebody other than your twin, because we become quantum entangled. Our vibration entangles with the people, even though it's not necessarily that exact tonal harmony as it is with your twin. So, but after this, sex might not make sense to you anymore. It might not feel good because it's not in a vibration of completely true love, which is something that you are now capable of once you graduate. And so this is not about sex. This is about the more of us who are able to come into union with our twin, the more of us that are able to ascend even individually. Some people have a different path. Some people ascend by themselves and completely write off any sexual relationships and partnerships, and they break from the community and detach from everything that they've ever cared about. And that's okay. If that rings true to you, then do it. And that might just be a part of your awakening, is just doing that for a little bit of time. But some people, like Eckhart Tolle is a really big one, and the Buddha and people like that hit this high level of consciousness, and they don't have a twin flame that is actually going to come out in this lifetime, because it's not in alignment with them. It's not in their path. They are people whose souls have chosen to incarnate one time, help everybody raise up consciousness, and then slip out. And they will probably keep reincarnating. But what happens with a twin, when you're a twin, you are on your last incarnation. Congratulations. This means once you've awoken with your twin flame, you are going to gain the ability to withstand any kind of decay that happens to our bodies. It's because we are no longer low vibrational, and our fields are high enough that they will be able to maintain their vibration such that they keep our bodies alive within the frequencies that your body naturally makes. So instead of those frequencies decaying and having those little circuits break like your battery, you can actually retrain all of your cells and all of your body to think it's young, because all of your cells regenerate. Did you know that? I mean, everything in your body regenerates in 7 years or something. Your brain regenerates really quickly. Your neurons do. People don't know this. I studied psychology for like 15 years and practiced for, like 20 years and practiced for 13 years. And nobody talks about this. Neurons regenerate. And they can, when one of them is damaged, they can regenerate if you are, heal in a high vibrational way. And this can be something that your body can harness and keep doing if you're able to pull in high vibrational energy, as you will be able to do once you get your light body going. So, don't feel, just know if you've come into contact with your twin flame. If you're going to come into union, it's going to take a while. You might separate over and over again. It might take a while. you are going to, and if it does, you have this period of separation, which is because you're both bouncing around, and your masculine bounces all the way back down a little bit lower than that threshold, and but he's constantly being pulled up by you up to the higher vibrations that are love and enlightenment and peace. So you are together. Oh, there's a really cool bird. What the heck is that? I think it's a baby heron. Cool. So there's too much wildlife here. I'm also worried there's going to be like a snake that drops on my head. You shouldn't really like get under trees when you're at a creek. But yeah, so if it doesn't happen instantaneously, know that that's like just how it is. This is a twin flame. It's not a regular soulmate, because there are very deep soulmate relationships, and that's a very different type of attraction, and that can feel just very overwhelming and obsessive. But your twin flame, it doesn't hurt in the same way. You have faith in this person, and your love for them is so strong that it cannot be damaged, no matter what they do, what they say to you. And if they are a twin, they are high, even though they're kind of lower vibrational than the divine feminine might be, and it's probably you. If you're following this stuff, it's probably you're the higher vibrational of the twins. But what was I gonna say? But you bounce up and down until you stabilize at the very high energy that is along with and in line with the vibrations of the earth. So your twin, it takes them a little bit of time to steady out and bounce up and down until you're completely aligned, and then the two of you take your light body, and the light body expands, and your light body takes you up, your union, and that's where you're able to recirculate all of your sexual energy between the two of you. And I'm not talking about having sex. This is like creative energy that flows between the two of you. You share your own little baby collective consciousness in your light body with your twin. And like I said, this is where you get like twin flame telepathy. This is where you get that spooky action from a distance, where an electron, a charge on this side of the galaxy, you can affect it, and if you do something to it, it will have the same effect on an entangled electron across the galaxy, across the universe. Entangled being two charges that have come into close contact, and their fields have gotten hooked into each other. So if you are in separation with your twin, or if you found your twin, this is when you really need to start raising your vibration, because the more you are able to raise your vibration, the faster it's going to happen that you are healing each other, healing your twin, because your twin has divine feminine in him too. So it's the two of your polarities are bouncing back and forth and affecting each other and pulling you up. But one of you will polarize feminine, one of you polarizes masculine. If this person probably doesn't want to talk to you, because when you first come together, it's like magnets coming together, and one of you is polarized the opposite way. Like often the masculine is polarized, they might be swapped, like the masculine is polarized in the feminine, and the feminine is polarized in the masculine, and if that's not in alignment, if that's not their nature, this is where they come together, and it's like magnets when it's north and north, and they repel each other. Or so the feminine repels the part of the masculine that if the masculine is polarized in the feminine, which might be if they've been through a lot of trauma, they might have like recoiled from society, and they're not really in that protector, the high vibrational masculine role, which is the support system of your field literally supports. The masculine's field literally supports the feminine's, and so this isn't like chivalry and stuff like that, even though that's nice, and it's not, just not necessarily like that. A twin flame connection looks like anything. It can be same-sex, literal twins can be twin flames, and your twin might be a lot older than you or a lot younger. You will not share a birth date, most likely. You will not share a sign, most likely. There is not a way to predict who your twin is, except when you come together, and then it's just absolutely undeniable. And at that point, you will start learning and understanding about twin flames. My algorithms started showing me stuff about twin flames when I had never researched anything like this. I didn't know anything about the Schumann resonance. I didn't even know what a chakra was. Like, and all of this stuff just completely fell into my lap. And I was like, oh my God, this was several months after this happened. I was like, oh my God, this is what this is. And then I had to learn what was going on. And it made it make so much more sense as to how I was able to break up with the person and stay in this, because usually when I've broken up with people, it's like absolutely devastating to me in such a way that I get really, really depressed. And I think this is because I was usually operating in this high vibrational, they pulled me so low vibe because all my relationships previous to now, or the two main ones, were abusive in different ways, physically, sexually, emotionally, verbally. And when I would break, but I was very codependent with these people because of that abusive relationship. And so those people kept, when I would break up with those people or they would break up with me, it was just absolutely completely devastating. Like feels like you're going to die. But with your twin flame, you will be repelled from each other. Your magnets will fly apart, but then each of you is going to like kind of flip around because you're still going to be overwhelmingly attracted to each other. And then you're going to polarize and come together. But when you split, when you go into separation with your twin flame, it's not going to feel like a normal breakup. You're going to be very confused about it, and you might fight it. But this is like the natural way, because you cannot be around a low vibrational person and be able to maintain your vibration. And at the point where you have hit a really high vibrational frequency, the Earth's magnetic field, the quantum field of love, which vibrates at a frequency of what we call love. This is what we call love, is that state of mind that feels like that. That's what love is. It's a high vibrational, a vibration that's, the frequency is higher than light itself. And that's how it's in the quantum. We can't perceive it except through our extrasensory abilities. So this is why you're like, even though you are, and your twin, oh my God, they're the ones who are really repelled, because you might feel like, oh my gosh, I see you, blah, blah, blah. But your twin might be so low vibrational that they can't even recognize the connection. And they might not feel exactly the same thing, but they got the hints too. They felt it. And what happens is that they get fucking scared. They get scared. And there's nothing you can do to change that. There's not. Just don't even. Because like, don't send them this video. I mean, save it and show it to them later whenever they come to you. And whenever they're like, oh my God, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Because even if they're not doing the work, you're doing the work. And you're pulling them up. You're like saving your twin, just like Mary Magdalene reincarnated Jesus. And their union, their divine union, was able to maintain those archetypes through time. And a lot of people channel these people. Once you get really high vibrational, you can get access to these streams of consciousness that were created by all of these ascended masters. That's what this is called. People who died or left this incarnation and moved back into the quantum field. And you can gain access to all these higher vibrational, like, people. This is what happens when, like, this is what happens when people like say they're Jesus, or have this perception that they are like Archangel Michael or something. Like, that is a sign that somebody is not quite integrated yet. Because while it might really feel like you are having the thoughts and you are feeling so close to these ascended masters, like Mary Magdalene is my main ascended master that I work with. She's like I could cry. She's so amazing. But I also interact. It's all these, and I didn't know anything about Mary Magdalene. Like, she was a Tantra high priestess. She studied from when she was really little in the mystery school of Isis, and her parents were wealthy and sent her to study at the pyramids. And she came out with all of this spiritual knowledge, this Gnostic relationship with spirituality. And she was the one who brought Jesus back from his 40 days and 40 nights. She double bounced him. And I'm saying double bounce because it's like a trampoline when one person bounces higher than the other and then you both land at the same time. That's what's happening with the twin flame and your vibrational, on this vibrational spectrum. You both bounce up. One of you bounces the other, and then the masculine bounces really high, but they don't necessarily have any control and they crash back down. Whereas if you're the one who initially had, and this is where like the person who achieves a higher vibrational state jumps or bounces higher, the force of that person as they come down to the trampoline causes the force is transferred from the first person to the second one. And so this is where you get this bounce back and forth where you're flipping, and you might flip in polarities. Some people will flip back and forth between the divine feminine and divine masculine, and it's almost like a little bit easier for those people because they're to be closer in vibration. But you are so powerful. It doesn't matter how big your light body is. If you are doing this work, if you are operating in the light, if you are working in the light, and especially if you can figure out how to leave your twin alone, because you really need to be, in order for you to come together, you really need to be in a high vibrational state where you're both completely in alignment independently. And that's going to be when all of a sudden everything flashes, and it's like then you're completely drawn to each other, and it's going to be permanent for all the rest of time. This is what it talks about in the Bible, where people, the 144,000, which are these points of light, these points of frequency of the light bodies of the twins and of these people who ascend by themselves, are helping maintain the electromagnetic field of the planet so that we can all bring up the collective and in consciousness. Because whether it's the same thing as your twin or not, we entangle with others, we entangle with everyone that we have sex with and have that kind of intimacy with. You entangle with your friends. Oh, did I just get stung? Yes. Oh, jeez. It almost felt like a bee. Must have been a fly. I'm sure you're interested. I live in Alabama, so there's a lot of bugs here, in pretty places, and it's always. I live on the 33rd latitude. So yeah, you just got to start working on yourself and find your alignment. And when you come together, you'll find that your twin and you actually have completely complementary life paths. It's not life path numbers that can't predict this either. You and your twin will have complementary life paths, and it will feel, this is when people are talking about twins having a mission together. It's because your life paths, your vibration entangles in such a way that the frequency is exactly the same, and you are going to flow into the same streams of consciousness as your twin does. You'll both be picking up the same streams of consciousness, and the effect of that, of like both your twin's light body and how it interprets those frequencies, and your light body and how you interpret those frequencies, and how you both channel, will dictate what your mutual work is going to be. And all of your power as an individual is going to be bounced like that trampoline. It's going to be logarithmically increased. It's going to be logarithmically increased, and that's how you jump your consciousness into the quantum and stick around as a light body. You might have to move around at a certain point to not freak people out. Like, this is where it's like we're all learning together. There have been people who did this in the past. There's somebody, look at Saint Germain. He's somebody who did this and is probably still around and reincarnates, or he has maintained his same body. And then there are others who reincarnate over and over again. And that's what happens with like the Dalai Lama. That's why they're able to predict exactly where the next Dalai Lama is. It's because of how the energies interact, and people who are really in tune with it can use it in that way and make predictions. So, all right, this is all I'm going to say about twin flames for now. I hope this was informative. Hit the like button if so, and follow my channel. I'd love to work with y'all. In my videos, I like to work with the collective because I hate charging people for the knowledge that I have, because it's not my knowledge, it is the knowledge of the collective, and it is the consciousness of the collective that I am channeling. And so my mission is to share this stuff with y'all. So yeah, this was good. I'll talk to y'all later.